New York City is hiding its K-12 enrollment decline by Matt Welch. Published at Reason October 8th, read to you here at Paloma Media, same day. What if New York City's K-12 enrollment numbers for government-run schools are so embarrassingly low that the city is deliberately suppressing them to avoid criticism for how it has handled school policies during COVID-19? That's the blunt question being asked this week, not just by libertarian school choice advocates or ornery local tabloids, but by the Democratic Party heavyweights heading up the City Council's Education Committee and the largest local teachers union. Respectfully, City Council Education honcho Mark Traeger asked Department of Education Deputy Chancellor Donald Conyers at a hearing Wednesday, how many students do we have currently enrolled in our public school system? Seems like such a simple question. But, quote, and I will respectfully say to you, Conyers replied, that I don't have that number to give you at this moment. The moment of DOE number delivery has been delayed almost as much as Top Gun Maverick. On September 14th, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced that the first day of school attendance rate from the day before was a scientific-sounding 82.4%. Clearly better than some people feared or thought might happen, but not as high as the last time we had a first day of school before the pandemic when it was about 90%, de Blasio said. Upon cross-examination, however, the mayor admitted that he was unable to produce either the numerator or the denominator for that particular equation. The city's Department of Education is hiding important information about school enrollment and attendance, the New York Daily News concluded in an editorial. School Chancellor Meisha Porter promised reporters at that same press conference that as soon as we get to the point where we have full attendance taken across our system, we'll share those numbers. 3+ weeks later, that point has been put off until October 31st, and only then because that's the deadline for reporting enrollment to the state. They know how many kids didn't show up, United Federation of Teachers President Michael Mulgrew charged at Wednesday's City Council meeting. They are hiding this. We're playing this game of I'm not going to tell you what's wrong because politically it might not work for us. The local politics of school enrollment numbers are as complicated as they are unnecessary for non-New Yorkers to grok, though the reality of families continuing to flee government-operated schools seems likely to challenge policymakers and infuriate taxpayers from coast to coast as the 2021-22 data rolls in. In the Big Apple, teachers' unions are peeved at having to comply with a workplace vaccine mandate that went into effect this week, and with de Blasio's insistence that remote learning this school year will be a non-starter. From the UFT's narrow view, bad numbers would vindicate teachers' claims that skeptical families need a remote option and a more robust testing regime for unvaccinated students. But the numbers stink in places where the rules are written by the unions, too. Los Angeles Unified School District, the country's second largest, saw its enrollment drop by a shocking 6% at the beginning of this school year, after declining 4% the year before that. The LAUSD, one of the country's most closed big city systems in 2020 to 21, despite Southern California's temperate weather, openable windows, has the nation's most aggressive COVID-19 testing regime. Every student and staffer every week, regardless of vaccination status, gets tested. Plus, they have vaccine mandates on teachers and all students aged 12 and over. United Teachers Los Angeles has extracted concession after concession from the local Democratic political establishment and is now looking at a 2-year 10% drop in the customer base for a free product. This will apply downward pressure on the number of unionized teacher jobs available. As Reason Foundation Director of Education Reform Aaron Garth Smith noted last week in Inside Sources, quote, states primarily fund schools based on student enrollment numbers. So after decades of administrative bloat, public schools may face budget cuts or rising deficits if they fail to earn back the trust of parents, unquote. If the LAUSD enrollment decline lasts, Smith wrote, the district would expect to get approximately $250 million less in state funding than it otherwise would receive. The importance of per-student funding is so great that the enrollment-bleeding Detroit Public Schools this week offered students free Pistons tickets if they showed up to every class on count day. An elementary school in my own Brooklyn district lost 8 teachers after seeing its 2-year enrollment numbers decline by about 1/3. New York City K-12 enrollment declined at least 4% last year, even while charter schools increased by more than 7%. The nationwide enrollment decline, visible in all 50 states, was 3%. Homeschooling, meanwhile, doubled to around 11%. The question gnawing at the public education establishment has been whether these numbers are a pandemic aberration or inflection point. Millions of parents over the past 19 months, myself included, suddenly got face-to-face with the way public schools are administered and did not like what they discovered. There are recall efforts against school board members all over the country, most notably in San Francisco. Contentious public school meetings have become the 2021 analog to the summer 2009 congressional town halls with angry constituents, right down to the media panic and the heightened law enforcement awareness. But beyond the long-term trajectory of public education and the funding politics thereof, there's the pressing immediate-term question of where those missing students are. You cannot track educational progress or assess outreach efforts towards those who've been left behind in remote learning if you don't have a baseline attendance number. This should be basic, said Traeger, who has introduced legislation requiring the DOE to cough up enrollment data. This should not be controversial. The fact that we don't share how many kids are enrolled in our school system right now is unacceptable to me. And quite frankly, further erodes trust with the public. It is unfathomable to me and insulting to this committee and to the public that they will not share the attendance data and information. The